James Gunn James Gunn needs to be fired. He has been doing so much damage since his he has done so much damage in so little time, and really, he's done nothing to help DC whatsoever. um he's done nothing, to benefit uh DC so far whatsoever. um and I've talked a lot of, in this channel, on this channel, I've talked a lot about James Gunn's upcoming Superman movie and how bad I think it's, or how bad I know it's going to be. But no, today in this video, I want to talk about my hatred. um I want to talk about my hatred for James Gunn, and just really emphasize, or try to emphasize, just all the damage that he's been doing, um since he's been brought on. One Something I want to bring up: the cancellation of Titans, the cancellation of the DC shows of Titans and Doom Patrol. Now, those shows were canceled. Um, those can those two shows were canceled very, very shortly after he was brought on. And when those shows were canceled, he when those shows were canceled, the piece of shit tried to pass it off as, oh yeah, those shows were canceled before I was brought on. Now, let me explain to you guys why that is a load of shit. Because this was back in, I want to say, this was back in, I want to say at some point last year. I want to say at some point last year. I'm not positive, but I think it was at some point last year. Warner Brothers Discovery was announcing, various, Warner Brothers Discovery was announcing various shows that would be canceled, and what shows were staying. Remember, I don't remember how long ago this was. I'm pretty sure it was last year, but I could be wrong. During those, in fact, no, I think it was shortly after DC. I think it was shortly after Discovery bought Warner Brothers. So during that time, um, they announced cancellations for shows, and both Titans and Doom Patrol were not listed in those cancellations. So all of a sudden, James Gunn is brought in as head of DC Films, and boom, those two shows are canceled. And he really expects us to believe that it's just a fucking coincidence? Bullshit. That was James Gunn and his massive ego saying, you know what? I'm going to cancel these two shows. Okay? And then something else I want to bring up. James Gunn has a very, very, he loves to say, he loves saying that movies like Aquaman 2, The Flash, um, which were, some time ago, I know, but um, I'm bringing them up because this was part of his reign of damage. Um, he said that those movies were finished before he was brought on. Okay. Now, um, originally, the Flash movie, obviously, was a massive failure. It bombed at the box office. Um, it was probably the biggest bomb that Warner Brothers ever had. Um, and that movie underwent, like massive rewrites and massive reshoots. Um, and from what I understand, that movie was originally supposed to end with Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Henry Cavill showing up at the end of the movie, as obviously, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and James Gunn, obviously, having just come in, removed them. And they, and now you're probably asking, well, how do I know that? Well, get this. He said that he hadn't, that those movies were finished before he was brought on. However, George Clooney revealed in an interview that he got a phone call from James Gunn and Peter Safran about the film's ending. That says it all right there. This is what this sack of shit does. He lies and he lies and he lies. And that's all he knows how to do. Is just fucking lie his ass off about everything. Like he's doing it, he's doing it right now with the Batman Part 2. He's saying, now this is just a rumor. This is just a rumor right now, but it's very heavily rumored that the Batman Part 2 might be delayed again to 2027. With Gunn saying that the script is nowhere near finished. This is another load of bullshit because Matt Reeves actually said that the script is done. Okay, Matt Reeves said the script is done, and as I recall, Jeffrey Wright, the actor who plays Gordon, actually said that he received he received a copy of the script, so that movie is done. If so the script is done. So if that movie ends up getting delayed, it'll be because of James Gunn. And here is something, and here's another thing that that has been said, by Gunn himself. James Gunn has actually said he's not in a hurry to make Batman Brave and the Bold. He is not, in a rush to bring Batman into the DCU. Okay. So with that being said, so if you're not in any sort of hurry, to bring Batman into the DCU, why the fuck is the Batman Part 2 being stalled then? It's, I guarantee you, if it gets delayed again, it'll be because of Gunn. This is going to be all him. Just him and his massive ego at work. Because this is what he does. And another thing I want to bring up, his fucking Superman movie, which is Dead on Arrival. Which I keep saying is Dead on Arrival. Apparently, the trailer will apparently be showed off December 9th, but only exclusively to the press. So that alone should tell you that that alone should tell you that Warner Brothers has very, 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 very little faith in this movie. This movie, and I've already made tons and tons of videos about like how bad I think this movie is going to be, and why it should be scrapped, and blah blah blah, and and really, the big, you know um really one of the big contributing factors of why this movie is guaranteed to bomb is because fans don't want a recast. They want Henry Cavill back as Superman. And I know I've said this, I know I've said this in the past, but this is such an important contributing factor to why this movie is going to bomb. And, you know, and another thing, that I briefly want to bring up, that I know I already did a video on, but the lack of marketing. Zack Snyder started promoting Man of Steel, literally like a year in advance. Literally a year, like when Dark Knight Rises, was out. We already had a teaser trailer for Man of Steel. So that alone should tell you just, the amount of love and devotion and in dedication that Zack Snyder put into promoting his Superman movie. It was, it was, it was marketed well, so it did well at the box office. It made money. Yeah, quite a bit of money, actually. And another thing I want to get into in this video is anybody who thinks that, anyone who thinks that James Gunn's Superman is going to be a success. I'm going to tell you right now, you are fucking delusional. Okay? And I can't, these are the same people who say to me, these are the same people, okay, that'll say to me, like just recently, I had someone say to me online, but we didn't have a trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine until a few months before the movie came out, and that made money. It made money. Yeah, it made money because you literally had Hugh Jackman, and because you had Hugh Jackman return to the role that originally he said he was done with. Okay? You had Hugh Jackman return to the role that literally made him that literally made him a star in the first place after he originally said that he was done after Logan. So it's like, of course that's going to make money because no one wanted him to leave the role. It's not rocket science. It's not. And, these are the same people that'll be like, these are the same people that, these are the same people who continue to try to use, the lowest common denominator as an argument when literally, they use the lowest common denominator as an argument because they can't think of a good argument to back up their bullshit. And that's what these people do. And, I'm going to read to you guys a response that I made, which I think is literally right on the money. Gunn Gunn has no clue what he's doing. The This movie is dead on arrival. There is no hype at all for this movie. The marketing for this movie is so bad, it's laughable. This is the kind of movie you promote months in advance, not just a few months, not just a few months before it comes out. You're pretty much asking for your movie to bomb at that point. Marketing is so important to a movie. If it's not marketed correctly, it's guaranteed to bomb, even if it gets even if it gets a positive reception. Transformers 1 is a perfect example of that. For someone who's for someone whose only priority is himself, Gunn is doing an absolutely terrible job at promoting his stuff. New York Comic Con just happened last month, and there was literally nothing on Superman. Zack Snyder started promoting Man of Steel a year in advance. He advertised the shit out of it, and because of that, it was successful at the box office. This won't be. I guarantee. I guarantee it will bomb. James Gunn will be out the door, and Warner Brothers Discovery will be even deeper shit than they already are. And this is true. This goes back to what I've been saying all along. Warner Brothers Discovery, is on the verge of bankruptcy. They are in so much trouble right now financially. Their stocks are plummeting. They're they're not, they're not, you guys got to understand, they're not Disney or Sony or Microsoft. They can't they can't afford to keep taking hits like this. They already lost 2 million on Joker Folie à Deux. And keep in mind, Joker Joker Folie à Deux um is their seventh DC movie bomb in a row. First there was um Shazam Fury of the Gods, and that bombed. The, there was Aquaman 2, and that bombed. There was Blue Beetle, and that bombed. There was The Flash, and that bombed. Um, there was, and then there were a couple of other DC movies that came out for whatever reason I don't remember off the top of my head that bombed. But but I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, this is, this is gonna be, things aren't looking good for them at all right now. And and then this idiot, and again, I have people, using, the lowest common denominator, to try to argue with me. And then, I have somebody saying the thing doesn't come out until July 25. They have plenty of time. Deadpool and Wolverine didn't have a trailer until only a few months before, and that one didn't bomb. And again, it didn't bomb because you had Hugh Jackman return to the role that literally made him a star in the first place after he said originally that he was done. You know, you know, and nobody wanted him to leave that role. So, so no shit, it didn't bomb. This is not, this is not rocket science. And, and another thing I want to bring to you, I want to bring to your attention, and, another thing I want to bring to your, another thing I want to bring to your attention is all James Gunn knows how to do is James Gunn. And let me evaluate on what I mean by that. James Gunn has a very, very specific, style. And that is, and and I might have mentioned this before. It works in some areas it works, and in some areas it doesn't. It works for um it works it worked for Peacemaker. It worked for um Guardians of the Galaxy. It worked for his Suicide Squad movie. It those are all obscure, uncommon characters that obviously outside of comic book fans, casual moviegoers, or casual fans who don't follow the comics, who just watch these movies, obviously aren't going to have any idea who these characters are. you know every and I know I've talked about this to death at this point. But Superman is one of the most beloved and iconic. Superman is one of the most beloved and iconic characters of all time. Everybody in America knows who Superman is, and everybody in America knows who Superman is. Everybody in America knows who Batman is. Anyone from any language can look at him and go, it's Superman. You know it it's and keeping Superman's resignation, keeping Superman's recognition is such an important um factor to the character and to the fans, and it, and to the fans, and everything that Gunn is doing is he just he continues to shirk his responsibilities as head of DC, as head of DC Films. All of the announcements that he's been doing and stuff like that, they're all online. He's like when the um like when the Superman suit, like when the first look dropped, for the Superman suit, he went dark for days after that reveal. Like the amount of hate and the amount of backlash that the costume received after, like after that first image was dropped and everyone was hating on it. James Gunn went dark for days after that reveal. Literally, like nobody, literally, like usually, he would post stuff, uh, you know, he would post, like all sorts of, like all sorts of, like all sorts of like images and stuff like that. But, like after that reveal, he went dark for days after that. He was basically in hiding. And from what I understand, according to a report that I saw, he's in hiding again. He's in hiding again, because of obviously, the fucking coward that he is. But um but yeah, no, this is not um this is not how somebody as the head of DC Films should be acting. And it couldn't be any more obvious that he has no clue what he's doing. um this is not going to save DC. And if Warner Brothers were smart, if they were smart, of course, they aren't, because they've been, they've I one of these days I'm going to have to make a video about all the damage that they've done over the years. But for right now, I'm just going to say, all I can say right now is, their idiocy and their stupidity and literally their incapabilities of not learning from their mistakes are finally going to come back to bite them in the ass in literally the worst way possible. And like I said, they're on the verge of bankruptcy. So they're in desperate need of money right now. um and from what I understand, there was a box there was an article from um there was an article from from Variety um, talking about the box office projections for Superman, um, for Superman, and they're not looking good at all. From like I actually remember hearing that there's a group inside Warner Brothers Discovery that wants Gunn gone. Nobody is excited for this for this Superman movie. And I know I keep saying that, but literally nobody. People all over social media are stomping all over this movie, and rightly so. And rightly so, because it looks like shit. It's like people can say whatever they want about Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and whether or not, and whether or not you think that's really Superman or not. But like, even if you aren't like me personally, like, I loved Man of Steel, and but um but but you can't deny, like, the special effects in that movie, like the overall, like, look of the movie was fantastic. Like, that movie was just, I mean, the like, the overall, like, look of the movie is just was just absolutely incredible. And that's usually the case um for Snyder's movies, Snyder's movies, visually usually look fantastic. Um, but this, again, this looks like something out of the early 2000s. This looks like shit, and no one, and nobody, in their right mind is going to, like, nobody in their right mind is going to go see this movie, because they know how bad it's going to be. And, and from what I understand, it just had its first test screening in LA. No results have been, no results have been stated. There isn't, we don't know, um, specifically, like, what the results were, um, but yeah, no. In fact, another thing I want to bring up is, there was, the movie actually had, um, Gun Superman actually had a test screening at the Warner Brothers Discovery building. And it comes from Josh, Din Din I can't pronounce the second name here, but Josh Nerds, who I think is an insider. Um, and it literally says here, it says, Gunn just had a Superman screening, and literally everyone in the room told him he should have just restored the Snyderverse. So, I mean, and this screening was at, the Warner Brothers Discovery building, from what I understand. So that alone right there, um, should tell you, that this, that, that alone should tell you right there that, Warner Brothers Discovery is fucked when this movie bombs, and it will bomb, because everything, because if you add up everything that I've been saying all along, and then add, what I just said to you guys onto it. I mean, seriously, guys, if none of this screams dead on arrival, then I don't know what does. Because I have been, so upfront with you guys, and so honest with you guys about, everything that I have been, um, everything that I've been hearing, everything that I've been saying, it all comes. They aren't just my honest thoughts, but they are also they are also from like legit. They're also they're all from like legit like news sources that I personally either like read online or watched on YouTube or or whatever. Just and yeah, I mean this is going to be one hell of a clusterfuck for Warner Brothers Discovery. And and it's been said for a while now that Warner Brothers Discovery is looking to sell DC because of how much trouble they're in. Um and just all the other bullshit that they have going on. Um but yeah, no, James Gunn just he never should have been hired. He never should have been hired. He's a disgusting human being. um he's an absolutely disgusting human being. And someone like that should not even have a career. In fact, something else that I want to um something else that I want to that I want to bring to your attention um is something else that I want to bring to your attention is he did a um is that is that recently he was asked, is Peacemaker is Peacemaker season 1 canon? And he said everything in season 1 is canon except for the Justice League scene. That alone right there is ego. That alone is Gunn showing off the size of his ego. That is just Gunn trying to distance himself from Zack Snyder's work. Because if you remember, if you remember, or if you haven't seen Peacemaker, Aquaman, Jason Momoa's Aquaman shows up. I think it was and I think like one of the last episodes of season 1 of Peacemaker. So so that alone should tell you right there. It's like, why, it's like, oh, I mean, it's basically like, oh yeah, that's still canon, but everything. It's like, oh yeah, everything is still canon except for that one thing. Except for that one thing. Except for that one part of the episode. It's like, I mean, I'm just, I'm so fucking tired of James Gunn. I'm so fucking tired of him, just, ruining DC and ruining, and just, of him, ruining DC, showing off the size of his ego, canceling, um, uh, saying that, pulling bullshit stunts, and and using and just um pulling bullshit stunts and telling bullshit lies just to cover his ass, because because that is all he knows how to do. And it's disgusting. It is disgusting. But honestly, when his when his Superman movie bombs, and it will, he'll be fired. And I am gonna throw a big party when he does get fired, because someone because because a bullshit human being like that should not even have a career. uh I mean, it's ridiculous what it's just it's ridiculous what goes on in the world these days. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that so those yeah. So that's my thoughts on everything. So um, anyway, so that's my thoughts on everything. So yeah. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Um, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, peace.